Over 4 decades ago, the first Tron movie arrived in movie theaters. Walt Disney Productions took a flyer on a futuristic sci-fi story about computers well before AOL started mailing everybody CD-ROMs to try to get you hooked on dial-up internet. Almost 30 years later, we got a system upgrade with Tron Legacy, introducing improved graphics and updated concepts. We even got a fun little animated series that takes place in between the two movies. But in the year of our creator, 2025, Tron officially becomes a trilogy with Ares. Since you don't have time to watch a whole ton of Tron before the next installment, we went ahead and took care of that for you. It's recap time. Originated by writer-director Steven Lisberger, the Tron universe went from a near flop at the box office to a pop culture legend. With so many years between films, the storyline has evolved alongside our technological advancements, while still showing a certain prescience when it comes to tech, computers, and the robots taking over. Plus, if Jeff Bridges is going to spend 45 years making these movies, the least we can do is try to understand why.
Fascinating.
The first Tron was ahead of its time, as personal computers were very new and practically no one had a clue where the computing industry was headed. The movie asked big questions about computer programming, and it also made the content more accessible by suggesting that computers were run by tiny people who live inside them. It introduced some CGI that was very impressive for the early 80s, and all things considered, it's a pretty great flick. Film opens with a quick and confusing computer bike race, then throws us into the real world where Jeff Bridges is Kevin Flynn, a talented but disillusioned software engineer. Flynn used to work for Encom, but now spends his time trying to hack into their computers to find proof that his old colleague, Ed Dillinger, stole Flynn's brilliant video game designs. Dillinger, a stuffy old guy who you wouldn't expect to be a computer game kingpin, is now a big computer game kingpin and senior executive at Encom. He's also created an MCP, or Master Control Program, that makes sure other software engineers' programs can't mess around inside the Encom system. The MCP is a super powerful AI with a vibe that's closer to Sauron than Siri. It even sounds evil and not robotic, which suggests Dillinger spent actual time deciding how evil the voice should sound when he programmed it.
What do you want with the Pentagon?
The same thing I want with the Kremlin. I'm bored with corporations. With the information I can access, I can run things 900 to 1200 times better than any human.
When he's not busy hacking, Flynn runs an arcade and is a bit of a celebrity gamer, in part because he designed the popular games he's so good at playing. The game looks comedically simple, but what do I know? I wasn't there. When he's confronted by his friends and former colleagues Alan Bradley and Dr. Laura Baines about the hacking, he tells them what Dillinger did. They aren't at all surprised, responding that Dillinger's cut off all employees without a certain level of access. Baines and Bradley still work at Encom and are just the type of people Flynn needs to break in, forge the proper access code, and get to the evidence needed to topple Dillinger. Alan has created a security program called Tron, designed to monitor communications between the MCP and Encom's shady executive. Laura has been working on an early version of the laser from Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, this one meant to digitize physical objects. And this laser shouldn't have any bearing on their mission, except that Flynn starts hacking at a computer near the laser, and the MCP, now fully off the rails, turns the laser on and sucks Flynn into the computer realm. This is where things get Tron-y. Flynn gets sucked through a bunch of colorful lines and dots in Tetris boards and finds himself in a digital room wearing an electronic suit that could also be worn to a toga party in a pinch. We're quickly introduced to Sark, who has an uncanny likeness to Dillinger because, it's the same dude, same actor. He does the bidding of the all-powerful MCP. All the people Flynn meets are actually computer programs personified, and they're being forced to fight gladiator style by Sark and the MCP. This is a good moment to pause and imagine that, while watching this video, tiny little microscopic people are inside your phone just wailing on each other. Wild, right? Anyway, Flynn gets captured and lumped in with the other programs, even though he's what the programs refer to as a user. This is where we get our first taste of the famous light cycle races and disc battles. Because of all his video game training, Flynn survives his battles and lays waste to the poor programs he goes up against. This is also where Flynn meets Tron, the program created by Alan that looks exactly like Alan.
Alan?
Where did you hear that name?
Well, that's your name, isn't it?
The name of my user.
Tron's on a mission to survive these games and keep an eye on the MCP, and when he learns that Flynn is a user, the two join forces. The objective is to reach the input-output tower where Program Alan can communicate with User Alan. They're aided by another program named Ram, but he dies pretty fast, so there's no need to get attached. Thus begins the journey through the mainframe, encountering boxy digital terrains and hostile programs that sometimes look like flying archways, sometimes like Imperial ships, and sometimes like cute little cartoon tanks. They're digital tires that somehow still screech like real-world tires when they're trying to stop the edge of a digital cliff. Along the way, they unite with Yori, the program created by Laura that looks exactly like Laura. Things take on a very Star Warsian feel as the trio closes in on their destination, and the situation looks real bleak when Tron dies, even though he doesn't actually die. Fortunately, Flynn has user powers that the other programs don't. He can manipulate the computer world, and this proves to be the deciding factor when they reach the final confrontation with a giant red spinning MCP. In the climactic confrontation, Tron/Alan goes up against Sark/Dillinger. Sark turns into a giant computer zombie, and user Flynn kisses program Laura, so it's not technically cheating. Then, Flynn sacrifices himself by leaping into the MCP, distracting it long enough for Tron to throw his identity disk into the core, destroying the MCP from within and returning control to the good guys in the real world as well as the computer guys in the computer world, which is also real, just the computer version of real. In the end, the computer prints out the evidence Flynn needed to take down Dillinger. After all that, it's just this tiny piece of paper that honestly anyone could have typed up. But is that really all? Flynn, a computer-loving, software-designing video game geek, just got to go inside a computer and feel the manifested power of digital creation. Is there any chance he'd be happy just living in the real world after that? Come on. 28 years later, in 2010, we get Tron Legacy. In a time when studios were bombarding us with remakes like Karate Kid, Conan the Barbarian, and Footloose, the second installment of Tron chose to move the story forward, updating the elements and CGI while honoring the plot and not dismissing anything that came before. The film begins in 1989. Kevin Flynn is now the CEO of Incom, and he's got a son named Sam. He's telling his kid about how awesome the grid is, how he's going to create miracles, how he'll show him everything someday. Then, he gets on his motorcycle and never comes back. Real heading out for a pack of cigarettes style. Over the next 2 decades, Sam Flynn turns into a handsome Garrett Hedlund. Aimless and dadless, he's still the majority shareholder of Incom, but he rejects corporate life and doesn't like the way the business is being run. Every year, he pulls some kind of stunt, like inserting a silly dog video into the middle of an important Incom presentation and then running away from security. After a daring escape from the building he sorta owns, Sam gets a visit from Alan, the same Alan who invented the Tron program and helped Kevin Flynn expose that liar Dillinger all those years ago. Alan says he got a page, somehow the most outdated technological reference in either film, from Sam's dad, and gives Sam the keys to the old Flynn arcade where maybe, just maybe, Sam will find his father. Instead, he finds a secret passage, an old computer, and activates the laser that once zapped his dad into the grid. Same as Kevin Flynn back in 1982, Sam immediately gets captured by digital guards. He tries getting out of it via charm and quippiness, but he's not as charming as his dad, and the robots really don't care about quip.
Look, I know you probably get this a lot, but there's been a big mistake.
He gets his own disc, just like the characters had in the original movie, though we get a slightly more detailed explanation of the disc's importance this go-round. Then, he has to go fight in disc battles, and just as he's about to get killed, he bleeds a little, which is a clear sign that he's not made out of computer code. He's taken to meet the grid's ruler, and it's his dad. But something's not right, because his dad is kind of an a-hole. It's all cleared up when he finally says, "I'm not your father, Sam." Even though he's got Jeff Bridges' face, this is Clue, short for Codified Likeness Utility, a program created by Kevin Flynn in his own image. Clue sends Sam back into the arena to compete in the light cycle races, which is actually Sam's jam because he's a motorcycle guy back in the real world. Before he can win or lose, a snazzy ATV shows up and he's rescued by Cora, a wide-eyed, friendly program played by Olivia Wilde. Cora sneaks Sam off the grid and through the digital desert to a nice little digital villa where Sam finds his actual father, who receives Sam in a much more fatherly way. This reunion is the perfect place for some exposition. as Kevin explains that Clue was created to help build a perfect digital world, but he became obsessed with control and turned against him. Worst of all, Clue destroyed the ISOs, self-generating organic programs that had emerged on their own and had the potential to revolutionize science, medicine, and society, both in the grid and the real world. Kevin tells all of this to Sam while they eat a fine dinner, and it's never explained where the food came from, or if it's made of food, or like ones and zeros or whatever. Kind of bothered me, but I don't know, looked tasty. The elder Flynn also explains that the portal shut down after Clue took over, thus trapping Kevin and leaving Sam without a dad. It's at this point, chronologically in the computer world timeline, we need to spend a few cycles in a remote corner of the digital world called Argon. After Clue's coup and the dude said toodaloo, a young program with a name that doesn't rhyme, Beck, is chafing under the tyrannical regime. Wanting to fight back, the would-be revolutionary stumbles across the original protector of the grid, Tron. Beck trains to take up the mantle of Tron, fomenting rebellion while being influenced heavily by Batman Beyond for 19 episodes on Disney XD. It's not bad, and there's plenty of cool light cycle and gladiator fighting, but it's a closed loop of a program, made to fill in a gap nobody was super curious about in the years after Master Control's demise. And because corporate overlords decided to cancel it before it got hold of too much canon, the point is, the portal is now open again thanks to Sam's arrival, but only for a little while. If they don't get there soon, they're stuck forever. Sam says, "Guys, we gotta get out of here," but his dad's like, "Not so fast." And then Cora's all, "Yeah, Clue's after your dad's disc because if he gets it, he can take over the real world." So they're in kind of a pickle. Nevertheless, Cora, who turns out to be the last surviving ISO, wants to help Sam before it's too late. She sends him to meet the one guy who might be able to help, a zany Michael Sheen character named Castor. Castor's the type of guy who goes to the highest bidder, so he betrays the son of Flynn to Clue. With the help of Daft Punk, Clue's cronies arrive to capture Sam. Cora shows up to save him, things look bad, Cora's arm gets obliterated, then a cloaked Kevin arrives and uses his user powers, like he did back in '82, to save his son and Cora. However, in all the commotion, his disc gets stolen, so it's pretty much game over for humanity.
Just imagine the secrets it holds.
With the information in Kevin's disc at his fingertips, Clue gives a rousing 1930s-style speech to his army of bad guys, and how they'll no longer be slaves in this realm. Fortunately, like so many bad guys who give big speeches, Clue isn't paying enough attention to stop Sam from stealing his dad's disc back while the speech is happening. Cora and the Flynn men escape in a cool little aircraft and head for the portal. They get chased by Clue and co, and it's all very high octane. In the end, Kevin tricks Clue with the little disc switcheroo, and Sam and Cora get into the portal. Clue tries to stop them, but Kevin uses his godlike user powers to hold them back. Then, Kevin and Clue and the grid explode. Back in the real world, Sam and Cora ride off on a motorcycle, and Cora experiences her first sunrise, and also probably her first whiff of vehicle exhaust. She likes those trees, though. And that's the journey we've taken so far. In 1982, the movie introduced the idea of humans interacting with computer programs on a one-to-one level. Despite the funky 1980s color scheme, the original Tron became a cult classic because it leaned into our fascination with computers and what they might be capable of. When Tron Legacy rolled around, the internet had already revolutionized the world. The user is no longer more powerful than his creation in the second film, but has rather conceded that he created something more powerful than himself, at least within the digital space. With Ares, the Tron universe leaves the grid and sets foot on solid ground. Naturally, the conversation is about AI and the powers that have been unleashed with computers that do their own thinking. What does it look like when our digital creations walk among us? Is it good? Bad? Will they work for us, with us, or against us? These questions and more will be answered when Tron Ares hits theaters in October. In the meantime, for all other things Tron, be sure to like and subscribe to IGN wherever you like to watch.